In the dimly lit recesses of his crumbling family mansion, Wilbur Wuttely devoted himself to the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, delving ever deeper into the mysteries of the occult. The musty scent of aged tomes and the flickering dance of candlelight cast eerie shadows on the walls as he pored over ancient texts, seeking the hidden secrets of the cosmos. His eyes, aglow with an unnatural intensity, scanned the yellowed pages of the Necronomicon, that most blasphemous of books, as he struggled to decipher the arcane script that held the keys to ultimate power. The words of the mad Arab, Alhazred, seemed to sear themselves into his brain, filling his mind with visions of eldritch horrors and otherworldly realms. Wilbur's fascination with the dark arts had begun innocently enough, a mere curiosity sparked by the whispered tales of his mother, but it had since grown into an all-consuming obsession, driving him to seek out ever more esoteric and forbidden knowledge. His translations of the Necronomicon, laboriously scrawled into a series of leather-bound notebooks, began to take on a life of their own, as if the very words themselves were imbuing him with a dark and malevolent energy. As the seasons passed, the people of Dunwich began to notice a change in Wilbur, a change that was both subtle and profound. His eyes, once a bright and curious blue, had taken on a milky, almost opalescent sheen, as if the very fabric of his soul was being slowly consumed by the eldritch powers he sought to wield. His smile, once wide and friendly, had grown twisted and sinister, like the grin of a predator savoring its prey. And his voice, low and husky, seemed to carry on its breath the whispers of 1,000 midnights, sending shivers down the spines of those who dared to listen. The strange creatures that began to appear in the area, twisted and deformed abominations that seemed to defy the very laws of nature, were seen as a manifestation of Wilbur's dark experiments, a physical embodiment of the horrors that lurked within the recesses of his mind. They would be seen lurking in the shadows, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light, as if they were the product of some twisted union between the human and the non-human. The people of Dunwich whispered among themselves of the unholy rituals that took place beneath the light of the full moon, of the blasphemous invocations that echoed through the deserted streets, and of the unutterable horrors that lurked just beyond the veil of reality. The air itself seemed to thicken and grow heavy with an almost palpable sense of malevolence, as if the very fabric of reality was beginning to unravel, thread by thread. The once peaceful town of Dunwich was now a place of dark and foreboding terror, where the laws of nature were twisted and distorted, and the very notion of sanity was stretched to its breaking point. The creatures that Wilbur had summoned, or perhaps even created, seemed to be growing in power and numbers, their twisted forms becoming more and more brazen as they began to venture forth from the shadows, their eyes fixed upon the trembling populace like cold, calculating predators. The wind that rustled through the leaves of the trees seemed to carry on its breath the whispers of the damned, a chilling susurrus that sent shivers down the spines of even the most hardened residents. The moon, once a silver crescent in the night sky, now hung low and bloated, like a corpse-filled balloon, casting an eerie, sickly glow over the landscape. And in the midst of this growing chaos, Wilbur Wuttely stood at the center, his eyes aglow with an otherworldly energy, his mind afire with the promise of ultimate knowledge and the secrets of the cosmos. His dealings with otherworldly beings, creatures from beyond the stars, had become more frequent and more brazen, as if he was now a key player in some grand, cosmic drama. The whispers of the old ones, ancient and forgotten deities from beyond the veil of reality, seemed to echo through his mind, guiding him, tempting him, and corrupting him with promises of power and knowledge beyond his wildest dreams. And yet, despite the horrors that he had unleashed, despite the terrors that now stalked the streets of Dunwich, Wilbur remained resolute, driven by a hunger for knowledge that would not be satiated until he had unlocked the very secrets of the universe. The consequences of his actions, however, were only just beginning to manifest, like the first, tentative tremors of an earthquake that would soon shake the very foundations of reality. The fabric of the world was beginning to fray, thread by thread, as the eldritch powers that Wilbur had unleashed began to assert their dominance over the mortal realm. The people of Dunwich, once a hardy and stoic folk, were now gripped by a creeping sense of dread, a feeling that they were living on borrowed time, and that the horrors that lurked just beyond the veil of reality were waiting patiently for their moment to strike. And in the midst of this growing chaos, Wilbur Wuddely stood, his eyes aglow with an unnatural energy, his mind afire with the promise of ultimate knowledge, and his soul forever lost to the abyss of madness and despair.